Hi guys, welcome back to the Shannon Show podcast. So today's episode is going to be a review of Love Island 2019, episode 18. So today's episode, as we all know, is continuing the diabolical between Yewande, Danny and Arabella. So Yewande gets stuck right in there and she decides that she wants to speak to both Danny and Arabella. I was like, ooh, okay, Yewande. Don't know how this is going to go, but okay. So Yewande, I can respect Yewande. She stood her ground. She called both Danny and Arabella out. It started to get awkward after a while. After a while, I was like, why is Arabella actually there? And I feel like she initially just wanted Arabella to just be like a witness while she kind of checked Danny. And then Arabella started piping up, and I could see like Yewande was looking at her like, bitch, shut up. I just brought you here for decoration. And then she eventually sent Arabella away. And yeah, I feel like Danny was being really defensive and really rude. And I hate when you're arguing with people and you're telling them facts and then they start saying things like, oh, you're being rude. When no, she wasn't being rude. She was saying straight facts and you were like trying to interrupt her. Like when she was like, I feel like she was just blocking all of the bullshit he was trying to say. I don't feel like she was being rude in that situation. But let me know what you think. Do you feel like that was rude when Yewande said like the thing? Or do you feel like it was just Danny being hyper defensive? I think Danny realised that he had been caught out and he was just being very defensive about it. And after that, I feel after that whole situation and then this whole thing of like, I still want to get to know you, but I want to get to know other people, after him saying that she was the only one and how his head would never be turned. It's just feeling very scummy. And at this point, I understand why Yewande wasn't putting the effort that he wanted in, because I feel like she knew. Obviously, his head was turned when Molly came in. That didn't happen because Molly was all about Tommy. His head was turned when Maura came in. He was definitely interested in getting to know Maura when she came in. But again, Maura is about Tommy, so he thought, okay, I'll stick with Yewande. And I feel like Yewande kind of knew all of this stuff, so she was kind of taking the back seat and she was kind of simmering on that. All of this while Danny was well within his rights because Yewande wasn't putting any effort in. Yes, she should have put in a bit more effort. But the issue, if this is somebody you really liked, the issue easily could have been fixed. So that has led me to believe that Danny obviously did not want Yewande in the first place. She was purely a convenience thing and purely a gameplay thing. I'm not really feeling Danny anymore. Before I was kind of 50-50. Last episode I was kind of like, but I feel like Anton can have a body in the bin. Do you feel like Danny is just absolute trash now? Or do you feel like he still was justified in his behaviour? Another thing that I feel confirms that Danny never liked Yewande in the first place was that he was saying, when he said stuff about like how he wouldn't want to like kiss and cuddle her because she's upset right now and she's like raging right now. And I feel like that is ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. Because if this is somebody that you like, everybody knows when you go to bed, you'd still want a little cuddle or something. Even when you're in an argument, you'd still probably want a little cuddle. If you're thinking about in the grand scheme of things, he didn't kiss Arabella. So this, even now, could still be redeemable. So this whole thing of like, I don't want to kiss and cuddle you because you're angry right now. Again, I feel like that was a poor argument. And I feel like that, again, made me feel like he didn't like her in the first place, because I feel like just having a little argument wouldn't mean that you now don't want to kiss and cuddle somebody at night. So I feel like that was a very suspicious thing to say. Obviously, we see Yewande crying in the confessional. It's like, the classic sad reality TV porn. We saw it last year with Samira, and she was like saying, I did feel really sorry for her, and I understand where she's coming from. As somebody, we all crave affection. Everybody talk, self-love is important, but I feel like deep down, there is a small part of us, like even just a small part of us, whether you want to admit it or not, we crave that affection, companionship of somebody. And it's always nice when somebody when there is somebody, whether it's just, one person, obviously it's nice when it's more than one, but, we all would like somebody that we like to just be about you and only you. None of this having to compete, having to think about things and having to second guess. And I feel like she could, because I've talked about it before, but notoriously, especially on Love Island, especially with the black girls that are put on the show. When I say black, I'm not talking about mixed race. I'm not talking about, the light skin, the darker skin. I'm talking NW45 plus girls generally don't do good on the show. Obviously, I feel like Samira was the first, black, darker skinned girl to be on the show. She did terrible. Everybody knew she was going to do terrible. Everyone's, the whispers were there, black girls would never do good on the show, and look what happened to Samira. And now look what's happening with Yewande. It's still early in the game, and I feel like the producers probably would make an effort to put somebody in there. I'm not 100%, but I feel like if they've made the effort to give her a new wig, surely they'd make an effort to give her a new man too. And I'm in two minds, because obviously the argument I've seen a few people bring it up, like, black people should not go on Love Island, especially black girls should not go on Love Island because the show is not for us and we're not going to find love on there. But I feel like when they put Danny, I feel like the producers put Danny in the house specifically for Yewande. I feel like obviously they probably asked him, oh, who are you looking at? He probably said Yewande, but I feel like he said that as a game plan thing. So then now they've put him in there because he said that he likes Yewande, but really and truly he was just saying it because, just to get in the show kind of thing. From my understanding is there's always people on standby. So there's more than one person. It's not like it's just like one after the other. There is more than one person on standby. So maybe they interviewed all of them and they were all like, oh, who do you like the look of? Danny thought, okay, Yewande is looking quite popular. They're probably looking for Yewande. Let me just say Yewande to get in the show. I feel like that's what's going on. But let me know what you think. Do you feel like that's what's went on, or do you feel like it's just the producers being bad again and just like not caring who they put in the house? I'm still rooting for my girl Yewande. I hope that she does stay, and I feel like there is still potential for her to have a good run on the show and potentially find somebody. I feel like I'm hoping that the producers will redeem themselves from last year. So hopefully the next guy that they come in has been, not even just on a whim, has been explicitly tailored for Yewande. Are you rooting for Yewande, or do you feel like perhaps she's just not cut off for the island? I've seen that a lot. Do you feel like she's not cut off for the island, or do you feel like she could still potentially have a good game? Let me know how you're feeling about Arabella. Is she in your good books or is she in your bad books? Personally, I think Danny is definitely to blame, mostly for this situation, but I feel like Arabella is not off the hook for me. I feel like she's still a bitch. I feel like she still went around the situation the wrong way. I feel like she's being very petty, very catty, and I feel like when she was going to the girls and the boys saying, oh, I had to tell Yewande the truth, I had to tell her the truth. I don't want to make it feel like I'm the bad guy. Obviously, Danny wasn't being honest with her, blah, 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 blah. She knew exactly what she was doing. And she was doing that in mind and saying all of this rubbish, knowing she's definitely been calculated in her movements, and she knew her main objective in that situation was not to let Yewande in on the situation. It was to aggravate her, and it was to drive a wedge between Danny and Yewande. And I feel like all of this stuff, like, oh, I feel like she's really angry. I hate when people do that. It's like you intentionally pushed her buttons. So I'm not liking this narrative that you're trying to draw towards Yewande when you were the one who pushed her buttons. Again, she's perfectly entitled to come in and choose whatever man. But I feel like, at least with Maura's approach, she wasn't being sly about it. She was being very open about it. Where with Arabella, she's trying to paint herself as like the innocent girl when she isn't. And yeah, I feel like she's very slimy and very grimy. I feel like she'll be very good entertainment value, But yeah, I feel like she's very slimy and very grimy, and she's definitely in my bad. I'm not sure if she's in my bad books, but she's definitely a bitch. Curtis goes and has a talk with Yewande. You know, Curtis's very annoying, boring talks, and basically tells her, like, you know, she should go and talk to him, kind of saying that it's not too late, kind of thing, for them to kind of, at least, for her to at least try and patch things up with Danny. And obviously Curtis just needs to mind his own business. And Yewande, I'm disappointed that she actually did go up to him and, you know, sort of kind of says that, you know, she still likes him, but, you know, she understands he wants to talk to other people. I was disappointed in Yewande. I feel like Yewande just needs to realise that Danny doesn't like her. Danny is not into her, and Danny was always going to leave her. As soon as somebody else comes in, as soon as the tan white girl walked in and he liked her, the tan white girl liked him, he was always going to leave. So I feel like Yewande just needs to respect herself and hold her head up high and just, you know, hold on. I feel like the producers will eventually come through. She just needs to hold on for that. Curtis just needs to mind his business. And also, obviously, we saw Tom and Maura got together midway through the episode. We know how that ends. But yeah, when they got together, when they first got together, I wasn't surprised because I was in two minds. I was kind of thinking, like, was Tom going to go for Lucy or Maura? Those were the two options. Maura is very different to Elma, very different. So I'm instantly thinking this is a convenience thing. Obviously, they were kissing a lot. That whole kissing scene on the roof or the patio, wherever it's called, I felt like that was scripted. That was so scripted. Felt so fake and so forced. And when he was like, rate this, I was cringing so badly. Like, that was such a cringe moment. And obviously, yeah, so then they were kissing a lot, but it was him initiating it. And I guess it kind of foreshadowed what happened. But I felt like this was the kind of thing where Tom, he's gone for Laura because he sees her as like an easy target and he just wants to have some fun. And it's been like a couple days now and he's getting very frustrated and he feels like, you know, with Maura, that's easy access. He can have fun with her. And yeah, he can relieve himself with her. And I feel like that's why he went for her. And I feel like that was the reasoning behind it. And obviously we see at the end, Maura wins a spot in the hideaway. And instantly I'm thinking these producers are bored and they're fucking horny. Because traditionally, the hideaway goes to couples, or it's like a vote between the housemates. And generally the housemates pick, you know, strong couples in the house. So realistically, it should have been Amber and Michael in the hideaway. So it was interesting that they gave it to Maura. Obviously, I don't think the producers thought that Tom was going to fuck it up like that. I feel like the producers were anticipating some steamy business between Maura and Tom in the hideaway. Obviously, we saw before Lucy basically asked Maura, you know, is she going to do anything with Tom? And she basically says, no, she isn't. At that point, I feel like Maura was kind of offended that Lucy would even suggest that. And I guess the argument that I feel like a lot of people would say, like before, I haven't even checked Twitter yet, but I already know the argument of, well, she's been over-sexual, so why wouldn't Tom think anything of it? But in Maura's defense, yes, she was, but also it's all about agency. She was being overly sexual, but she was directing it at Tommy, and she had agency of, she was directing it at Tommy, and she wanted to be like that with Tommy. She didn't want to be like that with everybody, but just Tommy. She hadn't approached Tom in an overly sexualized way. Tom was the one initiating the kissing. So that is his fault for assuming that she would want to be overly sexual with him. Another thing is we also find out that even though body counts aren't really that important, but Maura's 28 and she slept with less than 10 people in her whole lifetime. So again, you could see perhaps, you know, she's not as sexually active as what her words say. And I feel like Tom was being quite pushy with the kisses too. I felt like that in the back of my head. So yeah, so then obviously the big diabolical, she chooses Tom to go in the hideaway and all of the boys are hyping him up. But I feel like even the boys weren't taking it that far. Like obviously they were making their little jokes and like, oh, you know, what are you gonna do? Like, you know, making little jokes, but they weren't being very vulgar either. So I don't know what even hyped him up to say what he said. Obviously he said, like, you know, it'd be interesting to see if she isn't all mouth. And obviously we all know what that fucking means, like mouth action. What provoked him to say it? Because I feel like everyone was being jokey but still in a kind of clean way. So I don't understand why he felt the need to say that. I feel like boys have that thing where they're amongst boys that the idiocity just gets hyped up. And I feel like he said that because he wanted to be like this big man in front of all of the boys. So obviously he said that, Maura kind of heard it, and then when she questioned him about it, he repeated it. And I feel like from time she's saying, what did you just say? I feel like that's universal to think like you should not be repeating what you just said unless you want to start an argument. So when he repeated it, I was just like, oh my gosh. I felt like he should have said that in the first place, but him repeating it, he dug a hole for himself. And then after she checked him, she says it again, like, did you actually just say that? Again, that is the chance for you to backtrack, make an excuse or an apologise. You know, she's giving him more than one chance here. So she's giving him the chance now to reassess what he just said, and he carries it on. And again, that again confirmed to me that he obviously thought that she was this overly sexual being that would be up for anything and was this easy target, and that he honestly thought that after even saying that she wouldn't have an issue with that, and that they somehow would continue doing stuff in the hideaway. That was trash. That was very trash behaviour. And I'm surprised that this trash behaviour would come from Tom, who initially seemed like a sweet guy. So obviously after that, Maura told Tom to do one, rightly so. And yeah, I just don't understand how Tom actually thought that was acceptable to say out loud and repeat it to Maura's face, and then somehow still expect anything to happen after that, even if anything was going to happen, which I don't even think it was going to at this point. But he even fumbled his chance at a spoon at least. So yeah, I feel like Tom was in that moment where you're around, where that thing where boys are around boys and they gas themselves out and they just say the most outlandish things, thinking it's going to get them brownie points or boy points. I don't know. Honestly, Tom deserves to get cussed out. But yeah, let me know what you think. Do you feel like Tom is like trash now, like the trashiest person in the house? Do you feel like he holds that title now? Do you feel like he's trashier than Danny? Fair dues for Maura. She stood up for herself. Absolutely rate it. Honestly, I have no time for anyone who says, well, she's betrayed herself in this way, so how could she not expect that to happen? I feel like everybody in that house has enough common sense. I'm interested to see what goes on tomorrow. Obviously, we saw in the first look, Maura definitely lays it on him. So yeah, I definitely feel like he's in for a good cussing out. I definitely feel like he should apologise, and I'd be very surprised if he kind of is very defensive about it and doesn't see why that is entirely wrong. Even with his prejudgments on Maura, I feel like at 29 you should know better. But yeah, that was quite a good ending, quite a good injection, because I feel like the Yewande Danny thing is a bit boring and it's getting a bit depressing, really. So yes, I'm here for the more drama. It's a bit more mixed today with Danny. There's a lot less hate for Danny that I've seen on Twitter. It's kind of a split between people feel like Danny hasn't done anything wrong. They feel like he's justified because Yewande was at a point not showing him much interest, and others feel like he perhaps, I'm not saying whether he's right or wrong, but saying that he went about it the wrong way. And some people are just completely not here for Danny. They're saying that he's a scumbag, that he was just not conducting himself well, and I guess like a lot of people are upset that he's hurt Yewande. With Yewande, a lot of people feel like she has put herself in this situation. A lot of people feel quite sorry for her and are hoping that she'll find somebody else in the house, and that a new guy will be put in there for her. And a lot of people are kind of upset that she's still kind of like perhaps opening the door open for Danny, when it's kind of looking like he actually wants her to say like, I don't want you anymore. I feel like he actually wants her to say that so that he isn't the bad guy that broke up with her. But let me know what you think about Danny and Yewande. Do you feel like someone's in the right and someone's in the wrong, or do you feel like they both have made good points? Most of the things I've seen on Twitter surrounding Arabella have been quite negative. There is a few people, rare people, that are saying that they don't think that she's done anything wrong, but most people are saying that she's a bitch. I've seen people calling her a witch. Some people say they're getting bad vibes, overall kind of bad, negative vibes from Arabella. And I agree. I don't hate her. I feel like she could still be quite good entertainment for the show, but I definitely am getting some snaky vibes from her. What kind of vibes are you getting from Arabella? Obviously, the tide has turned massively for Tom. I haven't seen one comment of support for Tom, but I feel like it's split between people thinking that he is like misogynist trash and people thinking that it was just a bit funny, the situation. And I'm kind of in the middle. It's very misogynistic, very trashy, very objectifying, but at the same time I kind of found it funny at the same time. And I don't know, I'm not like mad or angry at Tom. I just feel like I feel like it's a situation where boys like get hyped, where I feel like he was trying to impress the boys and he thought like that would impress them, and it like backfired on him. So yeah, I'm not really sure where I stand with Tom. Where do you stand with Tom? Do you feel like he's trash? Do you feel like the situation was kind of funny and he could potentially redeem himself? Or what do you feel? Do you feel like he like totally crossed the line and this is the line of no return? Let me know what you think. The viewers on Twitter are very mature. I haven't seen the things that I suspected on Maura. Everyone seems to be behind Maura and supportive of Maura, and reiterating the point of, even though she was quite open about sex and was quite sexual in her speaking, doesn't necessarily mean that she's just gonna hump any living thing, and if she kisses you, that now means that you're good to have sex with her. This season has been very dry. This is like probably the sauciest moment so far. And yeah, I feel like everybody's waiting to see what happens tomorrow. I feel like everyone is tired of the whole Yewande and Danny Arabella situation. It's just so depressing and sad. Like, I need that banter. I need that heated arguments. So I guess we'll see what happens tomorrow. I'm excited to see what happens tomorrow. If you haven't followed me on Twitter yet, my handle is @shannonfabuloso. That's SHANNONFABULOSO. It's also in the description. I usually live tweet during the episode, so feel free to @ me during the episode. And yeah, until next time, guys, hopefully next week we're going to have a bit more drama. It's going to be a bit less dry. So yeah, let me know what your thoughts were on this episode. Until next time, guys, bye.